Good morning, Big Ten fans. Welcome back to another edition of the Big Ten Morning Minutes. I'm your host, Michael Chen. You can give me a follow on the Twitter machines, MFC2123. It is Wednesday, March 20th, 2019, and yesterday the NIT got underway, and I will tell you one thing. The Indiana Hoosiers, they didn't quite do what they wanted to do in the first half, but damn. They came around and brought it in the second half. I mean, Indiana was down 8 at the half to St. Francis of Pennsylvania. If you don't know where that is, obviously it's in Pennsylvania, but I don't know where that is either. So, pretty much what you're looking at is Indiana should be walloping this school. I mean, really, as a number one seed in the NIT, you shouldn't be losing at the half at home by 8 points. So whatever happened at halftime was exactly what the Hoosiers needed. I mean, if you take a look at what they did in the second half, it was very, very impressive. I mean, when you score 55 points and you get the W by a pretty, solid margin, you'd be pretty happy with yourself. And I think Archie Miller, at the end of the day, has to be happy with the effort in the second half. I would most likely say that the first half was potential hangover for missing out in the NCAA tournament. I think a lot of the Hoosiers thought that at the end of the year they had a definite shot to make the NCAAs, but obviously they didn't. So making the NIT was their postseason fate, and they took care of some good matchup that ultimately was exactly what they needed to get on their right foot heading into the second round of the NIT. And a little bit more news from the hardwood as well from Nebraska. So there are rumors flying around about the tenure of Tim Miles. And obviously Miles has been at Nebraska for a few years. And AD Bill Moose, as I reported a few days ago, was going to wait to see what kind of fate that Miles got in the postseason. And obviously Nebraska has made the NIT as well. They play their first game this evening, tonight at 8 o'clock. They're going to take on Butler. But what the interesting part about this whole scenario has been is the rumors have been flying around. And the rumors are regarding a former NBA and college coach in Fred Hoiberg. The rumors are all over the place. It's not a secret anymore that Bill Moose wants Fred Hoiberg on the bench for his Cornhuskers. Now, if you remember, Hoiberg was very, very good college coach at Iowa State. He brought the Cyclones into relevance, I thought, after a little while. He's obviously, he played there as well, and then went over to Chicago, the Bulls, and coached for the Bulls. Got fired earlier this NBA season from the Bulls, and now he's a coaching free agent, and I don't think that's the worst suggestion for Hoiberg. I always thought that, obviously I'm a Bulls fan, I always thought that Hoiberg was a little overmatched on the NBA level. You can blame it a lot on the fact that his teams weren't necessarily given what Hoiberg likes to run. And so obviously when the front office and the head coach aren't on the same page, and therefore you end up making a lot of roster decisions that don't quite fit the view and the scheme of the head coach, teams are going to struggle, and that's what you saw with the Chicago Bulls and Fred Hoiberg. So I don't think Hoiberg's a bad coach. I just think Hoiberg was put in a very tough situation with the Bulls, and if Moose is able to give Hoiberg the green light to run his program the way he wants to run, I can definitely see Hoiberg having some success in Lincoln with the Cornhuskers. So we'll keep an eye out on that. If the Huskers lose tonight, there's a potential that there will be an announcement made for Miles' future, or they could conceivably do it tomorrow to give Miles a day or so to kind of, get off of the loss or outcome of the game tonight. So that's something obviously we will keep an eye out for as well. And yesterday, ESPN released a mock draft. There were 2 Big Ten players going in the first round. Indiana's Romeo Langford going 10 to the Lakers. And a little bit further down the line, Bruno Fernando, Maryland's power forward center, going to the Bucks, which at 30, which I think would be a perfect landing spot for Fernando. Getting to play with one of the up-and-coming players in all the league in Giannis Antetokounmpo. So this, again, I talked about this yesterday, and I think that it's pretty evident. There's not a lot of high-end NBA talent in the conference. If you look to the second round, there was a lot of Big Ten flavor to it. 39, Isaiah Roby, Nebraska's forward, went to the Pelicans. Ayo Dosunmu, Illinois' fantastic freshman, was slated the pick afterwards at 40. Carson Edwards at 48. Purdue's fantastic guard to the Clippers. Quick note on Edwards as well, as his back has been acting up for a few weeks. So he's not 100% for the Boilermakers, but he's been a trooper and he's been fighting through it. You got James Palmer, Nebraska, going 59, the second to last pick, going to the Raptors of Toronto. And then Mr. Relevant in basketball, although Mr. Relevant in basketball isn't necessarily the case because it's not as many rounds as the NFL draft, but that last pick goes to Charles Matthews, Michigan guard, to the Sacramento Kings. What surprised me a little bit, though, was Cassius Winston's name was not in this list. I think Cassius Winston is a NBA type player. I'm not sure that he is a NBA starting type player. I think that he is definitely a serviceable NBA player. And again, very, very surprised not to see his name on there, because when you are one of the best players in the best conference in the nation, you should get picked in the NBA draft. And I just thought that was really weird. I'm not sure if ESPN's staff overlooked that. I know that they took over Draft Express, which was I was a huge fan of Draft Express back in the day when they were solo, and now Draft Express is part of ESPN. So I wonder, I'm not sure if they made a mistake. They might have overlooked it, maybe looked at other teams' needs as to what was going on. Some teams don't necessarily need that point guard. Now, granted, Winston's not the prototypical NBA point guard that you see now. The prototypical point guard obviously is one that can shoot a lot and also run an offense. Winston's more of the traditional point guard where he's going to get the offense going. Not the biggest scorer, but can score when needed. So interesting to see, but I do think regardless, Cassius Winston still can make a good living out of playing professional basketball, whether it be here in the United States or overseas with another team. But I still think that Cassius Winston will have a long professional playing career regardless of what league he ends up in. And over to the gridiron, we will stay in the state of Michigan as Jim Harbaugh and the University of Michigan, the Wolverines, got their 2021 class going. In-state offensive lineman Giovanni El Hadi committed yesterday to Harbaugh and the offensive line coach Ed Warner. That was obviously a big pickup for them, always keeping the best in-state talent in El Hadi around is always big. Michigan typically puts out one national recruited lineman each season. The state does. And for the Wolverines to lock El Hadi up early, I think is really good. It seems as if his recruitment really had started to heat up. He had seen a bunch of Power 5 offers starting to roll in. And yeah, 21 is a few years away, so we'll keep an eye out to see if El Hadi keeps up with his commitment with the Wolverines, but still a good way to get their class going, although some of those 21 guys haven't been ranked yet. All you have to do is kind of look at the offer list, and he was starting to get those big-time Power 5s in. Rival Penn State had just offered, so getting El Hadi for the Wolverines, solid get for Jim Harbaugh and Ed Warner. And then, although it's not a note of the Big Ten, it does impact not only the Big Ten, but it's going to impact the whole country. Former Ohio State quarterback Tate Martell transferred to the University of Miami upon the news that Georgia's former quarterback Justin Fields was transferring to Ohio State. Martell had previously stated in post-Rose Bowl press conferences that he was going to stick around, that he didn't think that a player could come in, learn the offense right away, and be effective. He had that going for him. Fields announced his transfer, and just a short few days later, Martell announced his transfer. And yesterday, this college football world, got the news that Martell would be eligible immediately due to the case that he wasn't getting enough playing time at Ohio State. And I think this is a Pandora's box type situation with transfers and transfers in general. Now, grad transfers obviously are granted immediate eligibility. You weren't seeing previously a lot of the regular transfers like Martell getting the immediate eligibility. So that's something that I believe that everyone's going to be able to keep an eye on, because that's important. The whole transfer rules have been, I think, a little archaic previously. And look, I'm not opposed to this at all. I think that college football players, if they're stuck at a school and they can't see playing time, I think that they should be allowed at least one free transfer in their career between their freshman and senior seasons. And then obviously you've got the immediate eligibility grad transfer going on. I don't want to see a free agency in football, which is why I would give them that one free transfer. And then after that, you've got your graduate transfer. If you do end up transferring a second time, which plenty of football players end up doing that, you would have to sit a year if you were to transfer a second time. That would be my ideal scenario. But again, that's not NCAA's. NCAA's is going to do it on a case-by-case basis. And in this case, Tate Martell's got to be pretty excited about the fact that he's going to have an opportunity to be the starting quarterback in Coral Gables this coming fall. And that's going to do it for me this morning and your Big Ten Morning Minutes. Give me a follow on Twitter at MFC2123. Also, give the website a follow on Twitter at 2 Cents Pods, and give us a like on Facebook as well, 2 Cents Pods over there. Have a great day, Big Ten fans. We'll talk to you tomorrow.